Super Rugby, the opening round, 3 games, all games played within conference rivals, made it pretty exciting. I don't know that any of these teams are quite ready, like there was still rust clearly among all these teams. It's still the end of summer, so slippery conditions at times, I suppose, in terms of getting the ball all sweaty, but certainly not wet. I know Durban seems to be pretty not suitable from what the commentator said for rugby at that time of year, but yeah, certainly some interesting games. I went to the first one for better or worse. Anyway, let's get started. The Blues lost to the Chiefs, 29 points to 37. The Chiefs beat the Blues is probably a better way to put it. That performance was a typical Blues game. If you're a Blues fan, you'd be pretty familiar with that. Get your hopes up, shatter your dreams. But yeah, looking at the lineup, you always knew the Chiefs would probably be stronger in the second half when they brought some of the big guns off the bench, and it proved to be the case. The first half, Blues had tries through Lambourne and two to Rico Ioane. Lambourne showed some gas. Rico showed some power. The Blues showed that their goal kicking is pretty poor. They probably should never ever kick for goal. Like if you ever get a penalty, Blues, and your options are kick for the posts or anything else, just go for anything else. Penalty kicking is not your thing. Despite the fact they kicked one, they missed two. So, and a conversion. But anyway, the Chiefs did get the one try in the first half to Takiaho. The Blues got the one in the second half to Tuina Koafe. That was some proper power. But the Chiefs in that second half, Takiaho got another one. Again, a bit of power. Sol Kula, some power. So if you wondered what kind of influence the Gatland effect was going to have on the Chiefs, they certainly can do some mauling. But they also got that skill set. Ross and Alemalo getting tries as well. The Alemalo one I wasn't sure about at the game, but having just watched the highlights now, it seems to be a try. So, yeah. They did have the ref on the on the loudspeakers. Like they connected his conversation with the TMO. That's supposed to be an initiative from Sanzar so that the crowd at the game knows what's going on. But I could hardly understand what was going on. That's probably due to the acoustics at Eden Park just not being very suitable for it. Like Eden Park, often at halftime, they have a guy trying to kind of rev up the crowd. And I could always hardly understand what he was saying. So this was even worse. This is a guy not trying to make himself understood for the crowd. He's just having a conversation that happens to be broadcast. So, yeah. Cruden definitely made a difference when he came on in the second half. Likewise, ALB. That drop goal from Cruden was a proper bit of class. If you're wondering about the Alamalo try, go watch the highlights. But the Blues almost had him into touch, but he just squeezed it in. But yeah, Chiefs get it done. I was pretty annoyed after that game, but I don't know why I should be, because you should really expect that from the Blues at this point. And whatever Gatland said to the Chiefs at halftime, it worked. Maybe it was just have faith in Cruden because he's going to come and lead you guys to victory. But in halftime stats, it was 19-5 at halftime on the scoreboard. So Blues looking all right. Possession 63%, territory 67%, run meters 348 to 99. So the Blues were looking good, but they couldn't capitalize. They were held up at one point. Not sure about Duffy at fullback. I don't think he trusts his boot enough, maybe, because he got caught at least once that I saw that led to a Chiefs try. And yeah, the 19 combo still leaves a bit to be desired, doesn't it? So, Burden Barrett, you may not have a classy enough 9 in front of you to get the job done. We will see. I'll try not to be too pessimistic. Chiefs, second half, they just really blew the Blues away. And that last penalty took up beyond bonus point range as well, so the Blues get nothing out of this one, which is pretty horrendous. The final stats were run meters 489 to 391, so that tells you how well the Chiefs caught up in the second half. Possession was still 60-40 to the Blues. You look at the Chiefs line out, 90%. You look at the Blues line out, 73%, pretty poor. Knock-ons, 11 by the Blues, 8 by the Chiefs. There were too many knock-ons for a game which was fine weather, but first game of the season, kind of to be expected. Hoskins Sotutu, whose selection was raising a few eyebrows, at least among Blues fans, with the non-selection of Akira Ioane. 97 run meters, 5 defenders beaten. The guy looked alright. And ALB, when he came on, only playing a half of rugby, 50 run meters, 2 defenders beaten, 2 clean breaks. Really helped get the Chiefs on the front foot. So, yeah, still early days, but it seems like the Blues of old are back. And the Chiefs, you think, will still need to raise their performance levels, but certainly taking away win to start your campaign for sure. Right, the next one was the Brumbies and the Reds. I managed to get home just in time to see the first try, which was to Simone from the Brumbies, and they seem to have all the play early, did the Brumbies, from what I saw. A little bit of magic hands from Alatoa in the build-up to that one. And then they had one disallowed for a double movement not that long later. But then the momentum just fully shifted to the Reds. Spate got his try, which means he has scored a try against every team in Super Rugby. The only team he hadn't scored against was his old team, the Brumbies. So that's a nice little stat for a pub quiz at some point. Very cool stuff for him. Scoring against his old team. Line-out move, it was looking pretty slick. And the Reds went in front with a penalty to make it 10-7 on 26 minutes. And then right before halftime, Hegarty got his try. Nice little run and step on Banks. Made Banks look pretty foolish. So 17-7 at halftime. So similar to the Blues game, it's the team in front at halftime, which does go on to lose it. So the Reds and the Blues are kind of frustrating teams to watch like that. Possession for the Reds, 72% at halftime, 71% territory. Run meters, though, 120 to the Brumbies, 193 to the Reds, so not that much disparity, and tackling was pretty even in terms of percentage, but the Brumbies had made a whole lot more, 75 to 29. Second half, there's a try from right for the Brumbies. It's from turnover ball, so it's kind of exactly what you want you guys to be doing. And then Faenga got one from a maul. Probably, if you're playing fantasy, he's a good guy to pick because the Brumbies are often going to set him up for a try. Sure enough, and then Tom Banks kind of made up for it a bit with a bit of gas and some steps for his try. I forget who he went around, but he made someone look silly himself just to kind of even things out for the game. The Brumbies kicked a penalty towards the end. They were looking pretty comfortable, I think 27-17. But then Wilson got his try for the Reds. So 27-24 is how it finished. Kind of a grandstanding finish. Like, tight game. But, yeah, the Brumbies still get the job done. Possession ended up being 48-52. So actually pretty even territory, 49-51. So kind of game of two halves. Run meters 374 to 308. So not that much difference in that. Tackling percentages, like I said, were even. Knock-ons, 8 to the Brumbies, 10 to the Reds. So again, handling not the best from either side. But again, first game of the season. Banks ended up with 80 run meters, 4 defenders beaten. Tackling stats are none from 1. So we know which one that one was. He'll be disappointed with that. Harry Wilson for the Reds, 54 run meters, 6 defenders beaten. He did concede 4 turnovers though, but yeah, decent performance. So the Reds, I felt, looked like a little bit more expensive, which was kind of pleasing. I think going forward they may be able to really refine that and start to look like a dangerous team with ball in hand. Without Karevi as well, they look like a more complete team. For the Brumbies, it was always going to be a question mark how they operated at 10. There were certainly some less than kind of fluid moments, but the season will still build on that, and hopefully going forward they will be able to pick up as well. So yeah, neither team will be that happy, but the Reds get a losing bonus point. Brumbies get the win they needed. So yeah, maybe that one kind of went as predicted. The last one, which I just got finished watching now, was the Sharks and the Bulls. 23 points to 15. No tries in the first half. I did get out of bed slightly late, so it was 3-3 when I first started the game. I saw Fussy make a run, a blistering run really early, and Mornay stay and put him on his backside. So that was pleasing to see Fussy getting a run because he is very entertaining, and then pleasing to see the old boy put the young fella down. So that was pretty cool. Penalties exchanging, 6-3 to the Sharks, 6-all, and then a drop goal to Mornay made it 9-6 to the Bulls at half time. Who would have thought in the opening 3 games of Super Rugby would have had 2 drop goals? Not all that common, but it's 2 of the old boys, Mornay Stain and Aaron Cruden, coming back and showing still got those tricks of the trade. So halftime was a little bit longer than expected. Some of the lights kind of went off. They took a while to come back on, the main lights at the ground. Halftime stats were the Sharks 54% possession, 61% territory. They had more run meters, 197 to 115. But of that 197, 84 was fussy, and mostly with that one run. Tackling percentages were both pretty good, but the Bulls had to make a whole lot more. Second half, there hadn't been any tries, but the first try was a proper magic one for Nkosi. Bosch put a little ball over. Speckman looked to be onto it, but he let it bounce. It took a wicked bounce, and Nkosi grabbed it and dotted it down before he or the ball went out. So that was absolute class. Speckman will be pretty disappointed. 13-9. The Bulls almost got a similar one in return, but from a Mornay Stain little chip through, but Hendricks couldn't hold the ball. Sharks penalty, 16-9. They were looking comfortable, but then the Bulls got 16-12. They took a long shot at goal. Mornay tried it from 50 metres, but he didn't get near it, so he just didn't strike it very well. Interestingly, the red ref made him take that one back a few metres, but apparently it wasn't that he was trying to steal a few metres. It was that the initial spot he'd given the penalty was incorrect, and he corrected it, and he gave Mornay the option to change his mind if he didn't want to take the extra 5-metre shot, because initially it was going to be like a 45-metre shot, but it ended up being 50. He didn't get near it, but good on him for having a crack. It shows he's still got some confidence. 76 minutes, the Bulls got a penalty. I think that was because the Sharks were offside. And that started from Fussy trying to run it out of his own 22. He knocked it on. Like that late in the game when the lead was that slender, probably wasn't the right idea. Gallant at one point tried to clear and kicked the ball directly into Johnny Cotz's head, knocked him on his backside as well. That was one of those moments that'll be on a highlight reel for a very long time. Pretty embarrassing, but poor Kotzer, man. That thing really walloped him in the head. Right towards the end, though, the Sharks, if it wasn't in the bag, they put it in the bag. Big scrum. Esterhazen busted through the first tackle, and then a little pass to Nohamba, who people told me to look out for. He gets a try, and 23-15 it finishes. So the Bulls do not get a bonus point, similarly to the Blues. You thought they might have deserved one over the course of the game, but not to be. Possession was pretty even, 49-51, territory 54-46. That's to the Sharks, so pretty even. Run meters 330 to 365 to the Bulls, so pretty even. Tackling percentages are pretty even. Knock-ons 12 to 13. Like I said, the commentators kept saying Durban at this time of year is really, really tough conditions to play. So that seems to be the case with the knock-ons. The scrum resets took quite some time, so the ball and play action was probably not that high for this one. Interestingly, seeing Pat Lambie as the water boy. Not quite sure what his role is with the Sharks, but that's cool to see him around. Fussy had 99 run meters, 5 defenders beaten. Most of those came in the first half, as you remember, and Gallant had 104, 2 defenders beaten, kicked the ball into Kotz's head, so eventful one for him as well. But yeah, interesting games. Chiefs set piece was under a bit of pressure. The Blues scrum looked really good, but their maul, the Chiefs, does look very good. The Reds, like I said, look a bit slicker, I think, than they did last year. And the Brumbies, for having a really green number 10, still managed to run the show pretty well. Mornay Stain, I think, played better than perhaps I gave him credit for, given his age. And I thought Kerwin Bosch, actually, he played pretty well as well, given that he's at that end of the experience spectrum compared to Mornay Stain. It was nice to see him have a good game. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on the games. Still got the Saturday games to come, but yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.